Hooligans! We back with another episode of the Hooligans League podcast. And damn, it's been a crazy first 2 weeks. It's been nuts. I've been depressed at one point because of my fantasy team. I can tell I am not alone in that. Some people are feeling great. It has been a very, very interesting start to our season, and I'm here to dive into it. Been a little late. Wasn't sure if we were going to have a mutiny, but we're back. So let's not waste any more time. We got to cover 2 weeks today. So let's get into it. Hooligans League podcast. Let's go.
Best in the business when it comes to a quarterback sneak.
Let's go. 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 All right. Fellas, my fellow hooligans, we got a lot to talk about. And first up, I need to just come forward with some truth. You know, over the years of doing this podcast, the podcast has shifted. It's evolved. It's grown. But most importantly, it's gotten longer. And let me dismiss this. It has become a lot more work. The first couple of episodes were pretty short. They were like 20 minutes. Then it got to 30. And then they were 40. And then people said they didn't mind that they were that long. And that was cool to me because I like to yap and I wanted to add stuff in there. And now it's not a surprise when they're like an hour or even over an hour long. And I'm struggling to find the balance of getting everything into the podcast that is worthwhile, is good conversation, entertaining, nice to stir up the group chat, and like what I can realistically do on a weekly basis. It's no longer just a couple hour effort to put this together. It's usually more than just a couple hours on filming day, plus work leading up to it. So I might have to move to bi-weekly episodes. I'm not totally sure yet. It's likely that for at least the beginning of the season, it will be bi-weekly because I obviously didn't put an episode out last week, and I'll be in Phoenix with El Chapo, Silver Tits, Dan Silverman next week. And so probably unlikely that an episode comes out then as well. But I won't rule it out. I won't rule that out. But there is a good chance we won't have an episode next week. And so I'm going to take some time to really think through what's the right format. If this can reasonably still be done on a weekly basis without either it being too much work for me to enjoy without having to stress, or ruining the quality of the podcast. And so I am in the middle of trying to figure some shit out. I also might just be caught up in the early season grind that I tend to forget about. It takes a lot of work to set up the initial couple episodes of the podcast because I don't have all the pictures of your teams, and I change up the formatting of the podcast a little bit. And the first couple of episodes do just take a lot more work, a lot of tedious, boring shit to get going. And so maybe once I get back to the routine of it's just a weekly segment, I'll feel better about the work that is involved in doing a weekly episode. But for now, I do need to plant the seeds that this might be bi-weekly. And I don't think that's a surprise because I have grown more or less and less consistent over the years with delivering a weekly product. So, Dan, shut the fuck up and stop texting me. I'm excited about our golf trip too. And I know you're doing work planning some rounds, but it's annoying me. I got to put this on focus. So you're silenced. Can't wait to get out there though. So I did just need to address that. Needed to throw that out there so it is not a total surprise if I officially move this to every 2 weeks. With that said, we have shit to talk about though. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into just about everything we're supposed to get into. There are a couple things I pulled out from the traditional episode, and we'll see if they get put back in, but I'm experimenting. So let's talk about the agenda. We got 5 things to talk about today. 5 different things. We're going to obviously talk about weeks 1 and 2, what went down, who won what. Then we'll get into an overview of the league standings as a whole. Then we'll preview week 3 and maybe week 4. Then I got some league business we got to get into, some important stuff. And then I have a proposal. It's not necessarily for our league, but it's an important one. And it's for most of the people in the league. So I figured why not include it in the episode. So that's the agenda. Let's fucking get into it. All right, so let's flash back to week 1. Man, so much anticipation goes into this week, the first week of the fantasy season. The first test for all the players you research to see just how good or how shit your team is. And we all put so much pressure onto this week. Man, is it fun, unless your team sucks. Fortunately for us, we actually had a pretty good week. Every team scored 100 points. No super low scores. Everyone put up a respectable amount. But of course it was depressing as fuck for those who lost. And we had some good matchups. First up, I lost to Rick 137 to 118. And man, did I have a costly mistake. I texted Rick about 30 minutes before the game, maybe an hour, I forget, about how I was probably going to play Dak over Fields just because it was the kickoff. It was the season kickoff. I couldn't not have one of my players play in the game. I wanted to watch my team. So after having Justin Fields in the entire week, I swapped him out for Dak. I wanted to see Dak on one side, Barkley on the other. It would have been fun. It wasn't. It wasn't fun because Dak played great, but he did not score. And because of that swap, I go 0-2 instead of 2-0. Terrible way to start the season. Rick goes 2-0 because of that move. Then we had Dick beating Dan Santola 141 to 129. Dan also has probably some upsetting moves. It's shit luck. Worthy got hurt on the first play, basically. If he would have played Keenan Allen, overworthy, he goes 2-0 instead of 0-2. And I think he even would have been the top scorer for the week. Tough luck there. In the third matchup, Caveney loses to Chow by 1 point. And it came down to Monday Night Football. If Jordan Mason could have just gotten one more point on that final quarter, Caveney wins. But thankfully, on the final drive of the game, Caveney did get enough points to actually beat the median, jumping ahead. But pretty fun there. Chris. Oh no, that's the sixth one. Joe V beat Hopkins 135 to 124. 1 second. I don't think there was much that could have been done there, but a huge win for Joe V, being one of the top scorers. Great week for him. James still did put up a very respectable number, but couldn't get it done. Then Radler takes out Andy 132 to 120. I don't think there was a single move Andy could have done to change the outcome of that game. Both very good scores, very respectable scores, but sorry, Andy, not enough to get it done. And then Chris loses to El Chapo, to Silverman, by about 6-7 points. And I think he had a few different things he could have done that could have gotten him the victory. Definitely enough things that could have been done to not come in last on the week, which he did to me because I only outscored him by a few points. So I'm sure he has some regret about his decision making. But all in all, a pretty good week of fantasy. Close matchups, moves that could have been done differently, that would have changed the results. It's just typical. This was a great week one. Better for some. I was feeling like shit after this week. Can't lie, but it was a great week of fantasy. Great first season opener for our league. Got to talk about the median. I already mentioned it. For Caveney, he just snuck in there. The median was 129.89. He beat it by 0.13. And that was on the final drive of Monday Night Football. So Caveney does not go 0-2. He sneaks one in and goes 1-1. And then Silverman, unfortunately, did not get there. He had Javonte Williams on his bench, who scored 25 points around that. If he had played him, he not only beats the median, he's the highest scorer of the week, I think, maybe. And would have ended up being in first place for the league. So, yeah, even those who won got screwed by their decisions. At least Dan did. Cash money. The first prizes that are being given out are going to Dick and Rick. Dick, the past couple of years, it has taken you a long time to win some money. A long time. We've made it a joke. It's something I got to have fun and took pride in shitting on how little money you earn back. In 2025, that's over. I can't run with that bit anymore. After week one, you're in first place. You have the most money back. What can I say? Congrats, Dick. You did it. There is a trend developing that when you do something good, I tend to take a week off the podcast. And I do feel bad for that. It's not intentional. But I do think that has to do something with the world. Like, the world is off when you do well. And so my life gets impacted from the energy of the world that resulted in you winning. And so, like, it's just tough luck for you. but I can always come back and sing your praises. Dickey was in first place after week 1 in the biggest season we've ever had. So kudos to you. Rick, $10 to you, second place. You beat me. It made me go 0-2. I really didn't like you at this time because you had just caused so much pain for me, even though it was my team's doing and my moves that led me to this. But congrats. That's $10 to you. Let's talk week 2. Week 2, less eventful as week 1. We had some higher scores out there, but we also had some much lower ones. And I think most of the matchups were kind of decided pretty early. But because there was 2 games on Monday Night Football, one of the games being at 10 p.m., which is fucking stupid. A lot came down to Monday, which was fun, especially around the median. I didn't put out, the Monday night preview that I do sometimes, but there was a lot of us that were still fighting for the median come Monday night. Dickie, I sung your praises. You didn't like that I didn't do a podcast last week. You let me hear it, and then we played each other, and I took you down. What can I say? The universe does just seem to fix itself. I beat you 134 to 125. You got fucked on your later matchups. It was looking like you were projected to kill me. And then I forget what happened. Malik Neighbors went crazy on that end of game touchdown. I don't know. I took the lead and just never looked back. I desperately needed it. We might not have had a podcast again if I had gone 0-2 against you. So I think it's for the best. You sacrificed for the greater good. Rick gets another win, going to 4-0, scores 130, beats on his brother, who is having some shit luck so far. Only 95 points. That's just a piss poor, pathetic performance. But we know he can bounce back. Dan Santola has years of putting up big numbers, so I don't think he'll stay this quiet for very long. Then we got Caveney winning 116 to 110 against Hopkins. This was the lowest scoring matchup of the week. Yes, by far, easily. Caveney put up a very good number last week and got screwed because he played someone who just played a little bit better. This week he gets lucky and plays someone who almost scored the least amount of points in the league. So karma comes back to Caveney, rewards him. Hopkins, he's in trouble. Joe V gets beat down by Chow and his team, Ricky White, 160 to 117. There was nothing Joe V could have done. That's just a beat down, plain and simple. It's not the first time Chow has beaten down Joe V. Chow likes to even have people talk trash for him to Joe V. There's definitely a budding rivalry between these two competitors, and I love to see that Chow planted his flag early this season to make sure that Joe V never forgets. Then we had Dan Silverman getting another victory, and this time he made sure he was not losing to the median, putting up 182 points. That's a big boy performance right there. Radler, I'm sorry. You put up 142 most weeks. That gets you the win. But not when you play Dan. Not when you play El Chapo. The penis might be small. It's a chode, but it's thick. And he makes you pay. And then Chris gets a much needed win after being the lowest scoring team in the week before. Scores 137, beats on Andy, who barely showed up to play, only scoring 110. Nothing Andy could do again 2 weeks in a row, there was nothing he could have done to get the victory. I looked at the scores. It didn't actually seem like this week there was much people could do. The one thing I did see is that Hopkins did get screwed over on Monday night because him and Caveney were such a low scoring matchup. Even just a few points would have made the difference. And he needed Hampton to score 10 points going into Monday Night Football, and he only got him 3. And he could have played Tootin instead. I don't think anyone would have done that, but just something that he might haunt him a little bit. So a good, fun couple of weeks. Can't forget about the median. Radler, you did get fucked by playing Silverman because he fucked you good, but at least you got a win in the median. You go 1-1, bringing you to 3-1 on the season. Would have been 4-0 if you played anyone else. And then Caveney, you got fucked last week, but you didn't get fucked last week. You got the median last week. Now you get fucked. You get the win against Hopkins, but you go 1-1 this week, bringing you to 2-2. So not too many medians so far, one each week. We'll see how that progresses. And then more money. Of course, Silverman with his 182 points could have been even more. I forget who you didn't play. You didn't play someone. Wandell Robinson. If you played him instead of, I think, Austin, you would have scored over 200, maybe 210 points. Would have been a lot. But you still get your $20. It still boosts you up the standings. Great week. And then Chow not only got the beat down, not only did he go 2-0 this week and moves to 4-0, you get $10. So we got a different group of people running the league right now, and it is a little bit uncomfortable. But that's okay. We'll find ways to kind of bring them down. And with all that said, it is time for the first time in 2025 to talk about our Survivor Pool. Reminder, the Survivor Pool is our regular season contest. The worst team each week gets eliminated, and the final team remaining after 11 weeks is the Survivor champion, winning $60 this year, I think. I don't know. We'll see that in a slide later. We got 2 weeks, so we had to eliminate 2 people. I was very, very close in week 1, but I made it. We already talked about this enough. I think you all know who you are, but Chris, Nikki Santoro, and Dan Santola, lucky, you have been eliminated from the Survivor Pool. Chris, this was super avoidable for you. You only lost to me by 2.5 points. You could have played Jacory. You could have played Tillman. And you beat me. If you do either of those, you beat me. Gotta be some regret. Has to be. Especially since you would have survived week 2. And then Dan, I don't know if you have that type of regret. I don't think there's anything you could have done. In week 2, you only scored 95 points. So I think if you had done like a few different things all combined, like playing Chubb and Cup and Njoku or not playing them, I don't know. I didn't do all the math, but it did look like maybe there were some pieces you could have moved around. You might have survived, but that's asking for a lot. And there's no rewriting history when you put up a piss poor, pathetic performance of 95 points. So, man, sorry, Dan. Sorry, Chris. Love having you in the league, but you're out of the Survivor Pool. Rick, you should be worried. This is clearly a sign that this Italian mob themed league is just hitting those Italian brothers. So that's the first 2 eliminations of our survivor pool. We'll see who gets cut next week. Okay, so now that we've been through that, week 1, week 2, the prizes, the medians, the survivor eliminations, let's take a step back. Let's look at the season standings. Where are we at in the league entering week 3? We have Chow in first place, 4-0, 4-game winning streak. Just shoving that Chinese sausage down. Not in everyone's face. He hasn't played everyone, but it's got to feel nice and good up there. Looks fun. Looks fun to have that crown on his head. I want it. I'm nowhere to be seen on this page, so not quite there yet, but good for you, Chow. Rick, you are also 4-0. You got to play me week 1. Congratulations. It's got to feel good to be there. Then Silverman and Radler, 3-1. Also must feel good. Then once we get to Dick, this is where things start to get interesting. Dickie is 2-2. After an 0-2 week 2, and then Chris is 2-2 after a 2-0 week 2. But this is our final 6. It's still super early, but of course you want to be in the top 6. It's got to feel nice. Then there I am as the 7 seed, 2-2, tied with Joe V and Caveney. So there are 5 of us at 2-2, trying to fight for that top 6. And then we have 3 0-4 teams. Hopkins, 0-4. Andy, 0-4. Dan Santola, 0-4. It's interesting. James's whole team name, his picture is a picture of a ring. Jimmy 2 times. He's the 2 times champ. Jimmy 2 times is also a mobster. His name is James. He built his whole identity about being the 2-time champion. And now he sits at the bottom at 0-4. And he's also a 2-time champion. He wouldn't shut up about the team he drafted. But his team, kind of like his name, stinks right now. 0-4. And then Dan Santola, on paper, very good. Like Andy's. Dan has a history of putting up big numbers. Not this year. Not yet. 0-4. So, none of this will really matter in a few weeks. But it is nice to take the time to highlight those who have done well and those who have really sucked. Especially when you're not a part of the group that really sucks. So those are the season standings. So that's where we're at for season standings. But now let's talk about money, regular season prizes, and just total earnings. So as a reminder, first seed this year will be winning $115, and second seed will be winning $60. So Chow and Rick, right now, those are your prizes to lose. Most points on the season will win $60. Right now, that's Silverman leading that, then Chow, then Radler. Survivor, we already talked about that. Chris and Dan, they're gone. Whoever's at the end wins $60. And then best week. This was really the biggest change to the prize pool this year. we are having a best week for the first half of the season and then another best week for the second half. For each one wins $30. Silverman's 182.54 points is the current leader for weeks 1 through 7. So you have 5 more weeks to survive. And with bye weeks approaching, that number should be pretty good. But we'll have to see if he makes it through. And those are all of the regular season prizes, yes. So not much to talk about because it's only been 2 weeks, but we will cover it in each podcast. We will update it. So pretty simple, but we got Dick and Silverman leading the pack in money earned. They have both won a top weekly prize of $20. And then Chow and Rick have won a second place prize of $10. So not too much money has been given out. But it's got to feel good. It's got to feel good, boys. It's okay. You can let us know. It feels nice winning money early. I remember those days, and I'll be back to it, but I'm definitely jealous of you guys. With that said, do needs to start collecting Venmos. It's really not that big of a deal. Just another reminder. If you haven't sent me your money and you're in the position to send it now, send it. I will use that money to pay these prices. And I'll also use that money when it's time to book the trade party house. So just a reminder. But now let's get into week 3. And we'll first start with the matchups. No matchups of the week because it is still very early and every win just feels so important. Especially this first one. I go from 0-2 to 2-2. I'm feeling much better now. And now I'm paired up with the team that I think has been projected for the most points each week, but is 0-4. And that's Lucky LaDouche, managed by Dan Santola. Big matchup for the two of us. I'm not currently in the playoffs. Dan's at the bottom of the standings, basically. Big time implications for both of us. Then we have Rick, 4-0, feeling great against Dick, 2-2. Also should be feeling pretty good. Dick is projected to put up a massive number. 149, basically? Damn. Okay, that one looks like it could be a high-scoring affair. Then we got Cavening versus Jovi. Both 2-2. Both need a win. Obviously want to be 500. Caveney's the current favorite. But Joe V wants to be the one doing face fucking this week. Then we got Radler 3-1 against Chris 2-2, who's also projected to put up a very big number, 146. Damn. The fuck? I'm projected for 132. There's a lot of high scores out here. But both teams would like a win. Obviously, everyone would like a win. But Radler right now is sitting pretty comfortably in third and wants to keep that. And Chris with a 2-0 week could probably take that. Then we got Silverman coming off his hot week. He's going against Andy, who's 0-4, has had very, very bad scores so far. We got one manager who's feeling phenomenal about his team, and then one who has openly been depressed in the group chat. So this could be fun to watch if Dan just puts a beat down on Andy. It would I think we'd all get to enjoy the scrambling that Andrew will do afterwards. And then Hopkins 0-4, the biggest underdog in the league. They're only giving him a 31% chance of winning, is going against 4-0 Chow, the current leader in the standings. This has the potential to be an early season huge upset, but it's not looking good. So we got some fun ones. I'm excited to see how they play out. Not going to jump into week 4 yet, because I think regardless if it's a full podcast or not, I will do something next week. So I'll hold off from talking about week 4. We'll see where we go. But we do have one more thing that we need to talk about. And that is our power ranking. So let's get into that for the first time since the start of the 2025 season. All right, so first power rankings since the season has started. Very similar calculation to last year. The only caveat is that they're a little funky since I did not do power rankings after week 1. And so the original power rankings, which are the last power rankings that have been done, which was done after the draft, had a little too much weight in the power score when you combined all the numbers. And so the commissioner adjustments had to be made on these ones because there were some things that just did not look great. So I think after this week, the power rankings will be kind of running on their own merits. They'll be working from the algorithm, but I did have to make tweaks, and there could be controversy, but I don't care. I did my best, and if you have a problem with your ranking, take it up with the commish. This first ranking, there will not be any controversy. There won't be anyone upset. Maybe annoyed that this manager is at the top, but there's really no argument to be made right now. Chow, Ricky White is sitting pretty. He's the undisputed number 1. He had a 2.2 power score in the algorithm, and nobody was fucking close. It wasn't close at all. He's in first. He already started the season in the 4 spot. He was second in points last week. Fantasy Pros has him second next week, or this week. There's just no argument. And so he's sitting pretty at the top. Kudos to you, Chow. After this, things get dicey. We have a 6-team tier. I couldn't break these up. There just wasn't a way to break these up and have it make sense. This is not in order by power score. This is where adjustments had to be done. Silverman had a power score of 5.6, but I think he has earned himself the top spot. And if I would have done power rankings last week, maybe he would have been number 2, according to the algorithm. The big dog ate last week. He put up 182. He's 3-1, I believe. So it's not like his record says he doesn't deserve it either. He's number 2. That's a 10-spot climb in the power rankings. Post-draft, he was ranked last, I think. Second to last. And that's what I mean by not doing power rankings last week. That played too big of a role, because that ranking was still considered in this, even though he probably wouldn't have been there. So Silverman is at number 2, despite not having the second best power score. Radler is at number 3. And honestly, now that I think about it, he probably should be number 2 over Dan, because the only reason why he's not 4-0 is because he played Dan last week. I think he was better than Dan the week before. Maybe not. But Radler easily could have been 4-0. So there is an argument to be made that he could be the number 2 spot here. But either way, 2 solid teams through week 2. He's 3-1 despite having the most points against. He's up 4 spots in the power rankings. Good for you, Radler. Rick is 4-0, but he only got a 6.4 in the power ranking. And I'm a little confused by his team. He's, I think, underrated by Fantasy Pros. Fantasy Pros had him, let's see here, 11th rest of season. But they also say he's going to be 3rd best team this week. So they don't know how to evaluate his team. So I think that's holding him back in the power score. But he also has had the easiest schedule so far. He has the least points against. And so maybe he shouldn't be 4-0. Maybe. So he was a difficult team to rank. And I figured Silverman and Radler, because they've played better competition, because they've put up better scores, and because Fantasy Pros likes them more, they'd get the edge over Rick. I'm at 5. And according to the algorithm, I actually should be 2. And realistically, if I didn't make that week 1 mistake of playing Dak over Fields, I probably am 2. Maybe even 1. But it cost me because it put me far down in the standings. I should be 4-0. It brought my points down. I should have had a week 1 high score or second highest score. Instead, I was the second to last lowest score. And so I'm hard to pinpoint. Fantasy Pros likes me. I'm in the middle of the pack for standings wise, but that one mistake has hurt me across the board. And so even though I am a 4.8 in the power score, which is the second highest in the league, I couldn't put myself over teams that are 4-0 or 3-1. I'm up three spots in the power rankings still with that. Chris, similar story. He's higher than the teams above, but he's only 2-2. So Fantasy Pros likes him. He's just had some shit luck. He's actually the number 1 team rest of season, according to Fantasy Pros. But he's 2-2. And until his team starts putting up some serious numbers, can't really move him forward, despite what the algorithm says. And then there's Dick, the last team in this range of like 4.8 to 6.4. He was in first after week 1. Didn't have a miserable week last week, but went 0-2. And now he's here in the middle of the pack in the standings, in the middle of the pack for the power score. And he's just outside of the playoffs in my power rankings. Now, is this me just wanting to pick on him again? I don't think so, but it could be. I don't want to rule that out. But one other thing I will say about Dick, there was a moment that I almost instantly moved Dick to number 1 in the power rankings because I haven't laughed this hard in a while. Dick let the entire league know, don't fucking come for him. This fucking response, I lost it. Dan taking a shot at Dick for who knows why. He wasn't playing Dick. He had nothing to do with Dick. He wanted to just poke Dick, which I get. We all do it. But Dick just, I'm not coming at you anymore because this right here, this every last one of them comment, That's just a whole nother level. And kudos. I didn't see it when it was happening live, but when I went back to it later and saw this, oh man, that is good work there. So you guys were taking it a little far, bringing the families in it. And Dick reminded us that you do not want to open the door to taking it too far because he will finish it. Holy fuck. That's a great clapback. And I just want to highlight that, Dick. Phenomenal work on your end. Even though you're seventh in the power rankings, every last one is fucking crazy. And I'm a little scared, but I respect you for it. Let's go to our next teams. Andy. He's at the 8 spot. I don't know if he deserves it. He's 0-4. He hasn't done anything. But Fantasy Pros likes him. Andy loves his team. Fantasy Pros loves his team. He's got a power score of 6.2, which would have actually put him ahead of Rick, who's 4-0. But I could not put you ahead of any of those teams, especially 4-0 Rick, while you're 0-4. You fall down 7 spots in the power rankings because your team hasn't done anything yet. And honestly, I'm not even sure if you should be above Jovi. He's 2-2. He's got some shitty luck so far. But Jovi's power score is 8.2. He hasn't put up, great scores. Fantasy Pros doesn't love his team. I actually don't know how to properly assess Jovi's team yet. But you two are clearly right now in the tier below that mess of teams. And then we have the bottom 3 teams. Caveney, your potential's there. You haven't done anything that's been terrible. You haven't put up any, you put up 1 bad score, but even that, wasn't bottom of the league. Fantasy Pros doesn't love you, but they don't hate you. You're just kind of like, as the kids would say, mid, I think. So far, across all the way you look at it, a lot of mid. But when you look at your team, there's a lot of potential there. I think you have Lamar. You have a bunch of running backs. You have Jordan Mason now with Aaron Jones hurt. Your wide receivers aren't great, but none of them are terrible. And they all have the ability to be a wide receiver 1. So it's your team's interesting. Santola, we've talked about your team. It's just been a rough start. You have taken the biggest fall down because when the season started after the draft, you were number 2 in the power rankings, and now you're here at second to last. And so, yeah, we don't need to pile on you. You were actually tied with Caveney in power score at 8.8. And then Hopkins. Hopkins, man. If you recall, your own platform that you use for your fantasy analysis, Walter Picks, had you as the worst team in the league. You knew that. We had you at last in the power rankings. You knew that. You talked about how you hated your team and how you were already making jokes about trading Joe Burrow to save your team. Joe Burrow then goes down. He gets hurt. And what do? You only bid $21 on Browning? Excuse me? You're the 2-time champ. Did you let this go to your head? What are you doing? Do you remember this? You said this. Gonna be out of fab after week 2. $21, that's it? Browning's gonna start for 12 weeks, maybe the rest of the season. That's a big downgrade from Burrow, but not as big as not getting him. And then you didn't even bid on Carson Wentz, who's going to be taking J.J. McCarthy's spot. He throws to Justin Jefferson. You didn't even bid on him. You could have got him for cheaper if you wanted to go the cheap route. Would have had him for week 3, probably week 4, probably week 5, and then the Vikings are on bye week 6. So I'd say you probably at least would have gotten 3 weeks out of him and then given yourself some time. Could have got Tyrod Taylor just to hold yourself over for a week. Could have got Mac Jones last week when he was available because you know you don't have a backup quarterback. What are you doing? There's always one move that someone needs to get ripped into. And usually it has to do with people who don't have quarterbacks not getting quarterbacks when their quarterbacks get hurt. I know Radler has gotten, this type of heart to heart from me before. This is arguably the most egregious because you knew that you needed to spend all your fab. You talked about it, and then you only spent $21. I thought I was putting in an unnecessary amount because I have quarterbacks by bidding 35 or whatever I did, knowing that wouldn't win because I figured you would do 50, 60, 70, who knows. But yeah, confusion. I think everybody's confused. Only a couple people have hit me up about this, but I'm pretty sure everyone's very confused. And so you are already going to be last in the power rankings. But now it's not even close. You are last in Fantasy Pros this week. You are last in Fantasy Pros rest of season. You're 0-4. Still only 10th in the standing. There's just you got to do something fast. Make some moves. If not with me, who has 3 top 10 quarterbacks according to Fantasy Pros. 3 of them. If not with me, then with somebody. Get a discount quarterback. Get anybody. Or else you're fucked. And it wasn't too long ago you were getting that last place medal. I hope you don't have to get it again. Rant over. Those are the power rankings. Let's talk about some league news, some league business. Okay, so a couple pressing matters to talk about. League business, these are important things that don't actually have to do with the play of the league, but surround the play of the league and are things that we look forward to. So I have my nice bulletin board here, and let's talk about it. We have 2 things to discuss. First up is the Trade Party House. I have officially put out the request to the Cape House to see if we can pull that off. Haven't heard back. Gonna look at some other options as well, but I still feel pretty good that we can just run it back to that barn that we had 2 years ago. So nothing needed from you yet. Just another reminder to Venmo me if you haven't, or let me know. I don't care. It's just a reminder to Venmo me, because once ready, I will use that to book. And then if you're bored or want to, you're curious, you want to look at houses as well, feel free to look for alternate houses. I'm not opposed to making a change if we find something that checks all the boxes. More importantly, I want to talk about something else. I fucked up the punishments. When I was in Pittsburgh working on the podcast, I was supposed to put together a document so we could figure out the punishments. Then the power went out. And then I forgot to do it. And then I was so distracted by how shitty the podcast production was that it just completely slipped my mind. And this was supposed to be a pretty monumental moment for our league to have punishments, to just further stamp that we are the greatest league in the world. But I, your commissioner, fucked it up. And I did say when we were voting on this that if we didn't have it set up by the start of the league, that we would just scrap it. And I'm okay with doing that, but I don't want to do it if that's not what you want to do, because this isn't your fault. None of you 11 league members were why we didn't come up with a punishment. When I had said that, I was kind of assuming if people didn't vote and they just didn't throw suggestions out there, then if we don't do it, then we just, clearly people aren't excited by it and we just scrap it. But this is on me. So I want to hear what you think. Okay? We could still do it, and I could do what I was going to do and have a document where people nominate punishments and people can veto things that they absolutely don't agree with doing. And then we'll have a list of routes that whoever the loser is can take. I still think it would be fair. I still think people whoever ends up losing would be able to find something they'd want to do. Or we can push it to next season. I especially want to hear from those who are towards the bottom of the standings, because it's very easy for the people at the top to be like, yeah, let's still fucking do it, sitting at 4-0 or even 3-1, or haven't faced any injuries. We did agree to do the punishment, but I also said if we didn't agree before the season started, then I would scrap it. So I don't want to make the call, because this should be a lot of fun at the end when we do have a loser. But I also don't want to fuck over someone. And now that you know you're 4-0, you're only putting up really bad shit. So if we do decide to still keep the punishment, I will make sure that it is relatively easy to eliminate options so that it's not the worst punishments of all time on there. But we do have to make a call on this. So no survey, not yet at least. Share your thoughts on if we should push it to next season, I should say, or keep it. Okay? I apologize. My head was not in the game. I was helping my mom move in Pittsburgh. I had zero routine. I had 2 dogs around me that were super cute. It was no power, no AC for a couple nights. That was brutal. But it's on me. No excuses. It's on me. So let me know what your thoughts are regarding the punishment. And then I will make sure that I set it up or document it for next year regarding based on what our decision is. So that's it for league business. The last thing I have is the proposal. And I'm very excited to propose this idea. It is not actually about our fantasy league. I need to preface that. So some of you might have been looking forward to hearing what this was, and you might not actually give a fuck. And I'm sorry if I led you on, but I kept you watching, didn't I? This has been something I've been wanting to do forever, probably for years now, and just haven't taken the time to do it. But I was inspired by a recent YouTube video, and now is the time. Because if not now, it won't happen next year, and it'll just keep getting pushed off. So I want to talk about this proposal. And others will be included on this outside of our league, but you're getting the first invite. And I'll preface by saying this has to do with golf. We've had some great memories over the years golfing together. We've had hooligan tournaments. We've had just hooligan golf rounds. So if you're not into golf, if you don't golf, you can turn it off. But I won't rule out you won't want to be involved. I won't rule it out. Because if we do this, it's going to be a shit ton of fun. And I bet we can find a way for you to be involved. Either golfing or not golfing. So, I want you to just sit back and start thinking about good golf memories. Think of those times at the driving range with all your buddies, hitting balls, shanking balls, unsure if you're going to have a good round or not. But you don't even really care because you're with the fellas. We're all there early. We're all slapping them out there. And we know regardless of how we hit them, it's going to be a good time. Then you get up to the first tee. There's pressure on you because your boys are behind you. You don't want to look like a fucking idiot in front of them. You just want to hit the ball nice, get out there, and then have a good time with your crew that you're with that day. You're riding in the cart. Music's playing. The cooler is filled up. We're having a good fucking time. Someone, maybe even you, just hits a nice shot. You're walking to the green. Pumped. You got a birdie out. Fuck it. Maybe you have a bogey opportunity that you just saved. But we're strolling together, talking shit, having a good time. You get on the green. Your partner next to you gives you the line. And you nail that fucking putt. You hit that putt. You're fist pumped. You're saying a good old Tom Brady, let's fucking go. Someone behind you, they said good putt. But they don't mean it because they're pissed. Because of course we're in teams. There's not much better than golf when you have teammates to celebrate with, strategizing with, being on-course therapists for each other with. Great way to play golf, especially when you hit those highlight shots, maybe a long putt, and you're fired up out there. Now I want you to picture all of this, but maybe a little different. Maybe we're on a newer course that we haven't played. Maybe even a nicer course. Maybe even a nice course. One that has, a resort and facilities that we can go to after. Or maybe somewhere where we have a place that we can go barbecue after. It's not just a golf round. We don't just stop there. We eat together. We drink together. We play the round, have fun after, and then the next morning, we lace it back up. We get out there, and we do it again. Not just one round, but 2 fucking rounds with the boys. A weekend, some may call it. All to then crown a champion for the weekend. It's competition. It's fun. There's teams with the boys, somewhere new, the ultimate golf weekend. should have been doing it. Let's do it. Yes, we've done Maynard Hooligan golf events before. But what I want to propose to you all is something bigger than just a random Saturday where we get out there and play, maybe win a few bucks. I don't even want this to be about winning money. I want this to be the golf weekend that we look forward to every year. Not quite every year, but it's the one we're thinking about all the time. It is the major hooligan golf event where it's not about winning money. It's about pride. It's about celebrating with your boys. And it's about just all of us coming together and not having our damn phones in our hand the entire time. I propose to you all the Maynard Hooligans Ryder Cup 2026. Not making this happen next year, but we are planning a full year out so you can get your permission slip signed. You can find coverage for your children. You can save up money if you need to. You can prep and prepare and train. And so we can figure out all the important details. Obviously, a lot of logistics will have to go into this. And if we give ourselves a full year to make it happen, I don't see why we can't. You might be wondering, what exactly would this look like? Well, I've taken some time to think it through, and actually I kind of just stole it from somebody else, but let's talk about it. So I think to truly make this achievable, but also allow it to be something significant, where it's something we truly look forward to and make it a must have on the calendar, I think there are 3 elements that are crucial to begin with. This would be a biannual event. Not everyone can commit to a golf weekend, regardless if you have to travel or not, on a yearly basis. But I would like to think that we can all commit to. Not all of us, but I would like to think that most of us can commit to, and or maybe commit isn't the right word, can find time for one weekend every 2 years, which only would elevate this how special the event is, because it's not every year, but it's also frequent enough where we can always look forward to it. Doesn't mean we're not golfing in between. Of course we are. We might still have tournaments in between. This is the major event, and it's every other year, so that you have plenty of time to get it on the calendar, plenty of time for us to work out the details, make changes, save up money, work on our skills. This is a biannual major event. Other key part, I think it would have to be a destination. Some of us don't even live in Massachusetts anymore. We've played the same courses, and it's just a whole different breed when you're with the boys off-site. I'm not even going to say that you can't bring the wives, you can't bring the kids, but we just got to be somewhere else together. Now, maybe that destination some years is a Massachusetts-based course facility, but we got to be excited to play where we're going to play. We're not playing at Wayland. We're not playing at even Shaker Hills. This needs to be a spot we look forward to, that feels different, that steps up the moment, raises the moment. And third, it's a golf tournament. And with the Ryder Cup, it doesn't put pressure on any one individual to perform, play their best. It would be a team golf tournament every 2 years at changing locations so that we're experiencing new golf, new courses, but the same vibes that we look for, just at the highest level. So that's the basics. Now, we wouldn't necessarily have to do it in the way that I'm proposing it, but I just watched the Barstool Writers Cup, and the way they do it is phenomenal. So that's how I'm proposing it, but not going to say this is set in stone. If other people have ideas, I'm willing to make changes. Of course, it's a team event. One team versus another, multiple events. You're earning points after each round, after each match, and at the end of it all, the team with the most points wins. That's simple. How would we pick teams? It's not like I would be picking teams. This is where things would be vastly different from our previous hooligan tournaments. I am not the master of all. I am not picking teams. I am not picking matchups. We would not do it that way. We would first select 2 team captains. Ideally, they're of similar playing ability to make the teams fair. And from there, on site at the location of the tournament, once we all get together, we host a live draft, a snake draft. The captains would snake draft their teams. So you don't even know what team you're on until you get there. We host a live draft sometime before the first match, and those are our teams. So think, we're eating breakfast, we're getting ready to play, and Silverman is there making his draft picks against Jimmy T, or Radler versus Caveney, or me versus Rick, who knows? But we are doing a live draft. There's strategy involved. And it just makes it for a unique, fun experience. Match format. This would obviously have to be decided in advance of the play. It would help determine, how teams are drafted. But again, I'm not fully in control of this. The way I'm picturing it is each match would be some form of 2v2 in either a 9-hole or an 18-hole match. Maybe we do a 2v2 scramble in the morning. And then we do 2v2 best ball in the afternoon. And then the next day it's low and total, or maybe it's a head-to-head 1v1. I don't know. We would figure that out. And the way we would figure out the actual format is ahead of the tournament. Me and the captains would agree on something that's fair. We'd obviously take input from whoever else is going to play. But I'd work with the captains to figure out what the match formats are, what makes sense. And that's how we would decide how this match will work. I am not deciding everything. We'd be leaning on the captains, and I would really just be a break even if they cannot decide. Matchups. In the past, I have typically set up the pairs for these as well. Who are you playing against? Sometimes it's based on the time. Someone needs to play earlier than others. Other times it's been based on who's the best competition, the most equal. Or sometimes it's just because, they're really they brought a guest and they brought a guest, and let's put them together. There's not always rhyme or reason, but for the Ryder Cup, it would be a very interesting way to decide this because similar to the draft, we would figure out the matchup ahead of each match. So captains would take turns nominating pairs to determine the matchup. So, for example, let's just say the first game is a 2v2 scramble. Silverman might be the captain on my team, and he might nominate me and Andy are the first team he wants to send out there. Obviously, this would be a team decision. I don't think the captain has to do it all by themselves, but it is their call. So Dan nominates me and Andy, and then James Tyler is the other captain, and he nominates Chris and Rick. Or maybe he nominates himself and Hopkins because he's like, oh, I want to send a team that can definitely beat them. It would be up to the team, up to the captains. They would nominate who's going out there. So you don't even know who you're playing until you're about to play. And then, so once the first nomination, then we would swap the order. So now the second team would nominate first, and the first team would be able to match it. This wouldn't be a handicap event. So you'd want, not only are you drafting wisely, but you then would want to pick your matchups wisely. Just thought it brought a very unique experience and a lot of drama and really build up the intensity of the matches. Because if you feel like you were called out for a reason, you now get a chance to prove they made a mistake. The prize, the end of the tournament, one team obviously will have more points than the other. They should win something. I said before, I don't think this should be all about money, and I don't think it has to. The commission, the captains would agree on what the prize was before we even get to the tournament, I would think. But some examples could be maybe we have a ceremonial dinner after all the golf's been played and the losing team pays for it. Maybe it is just losers pay X amount of dollars. Maybe it's some championship swag. You get a hat or a jacket or a polo that you can wear to the next tournament. I don't know. We'd figure it out. This wouldn't be, oh, you get money for longest drive and closest to the pin on this hole and winning your matchup. You get this and best 9 gets that. It wouldn't be all that. The competition is the Ryder Cup. If you want to make side bets against the people you're playing with, you can. But there would only be one ultimate prize, and that's winning the Ryder Cup and whatever comes with that. So that is the Ryder Cup. I know it sounds big and lofty at the moment, but I think it's achievable, and I think it's something we should do. We're at the point where in our lives where we need to create these moments or else they're not going to happen. And I have so much fun golfing with you gentlemen and the others that we've brought into our rounds that I don't see why we shouldn't do it bigger every couple of years. And so if you're someone who really wasn't understanding what I was just talking about with how that would work with drafting teams and nominating the matchups, because it is a little confusing, go check out this video. Because this is the video that made me realize, like, oh, fuck, that would be a lot of fun. Barstool Sports, their Ryder Cup. This video right here, the Ryder Cup is back. The first 10 or 15 minutes of it is them drafting teams and then nominating matchups. And it was fucking awesome. I just thought that would be incredible to do, especially with our crew. So if you want to see what this looks like, go to this video. the first Ryder Cup video is about a week or two ago. The Ryder Cup is back, and see exactly what I'm talking about. They obviously have a much bigger budget, so ignore all the decor and shit they have. But just pay attention to how they set it up, because it looks like a blast. So what I'll do is I'm just going to put out a survey to see if you're interested. This isn't a commitment. You're not saying I'll definitely play in 2026. This is just say, I'm interested. I'll also probably put some questions on there on like, what would be a good month to do it next year? Who do you think would also be interested in playing if we invited them? Because ideally, I'd want this to be 12 or 18 people, 2 teams of 6 or 2 teams of 8. That way we have 3 or 4 foursomes at a time. So nothing you need to do now besides just let me know that you're interested. We're not going to figure out captains yet. We're not going to figure out the exact date yet. I just need to start working from a place that we have people who are down. And once we have a critical mass, once we have even 8 people that are like, yes, I'm definitely down, then we can start moving forward with next steps. So that is the proposal. Let's start a new tradition, the best weekend of every other year starts in 2026. That's all I got. This was the podcast. That was the proposal. Week 3 starts in 4 hours or so. So set your lineups. I'm back. Okay? I missed a week. I fucked up with the punishments, but I'm back. Let's make this another fantastic fucking season of fantasy football with the greatest league in the world. Bar none. Peace out.
You want to play games? Okay. I'll play with you. Come on. Okay. Do you want to play rough? Okay. Uno. Say hello to my little friend. Okay. You want to play rough? Okay. Yeah. Okay. You like that?